These weather conditions right now are actually great because there's quite a bit of wind coming across, so you get a nice little chop, which is actually great for catamarans, specifically twin beams. You want it to be windy, you want it to be choppy. If you're going out on a 28, you want at least 2 to 3 foot seas, honestly, or more. The reason being is you want this boat up and out of the water. The more air underneath it, the better. So I love that we have chop in here. I love this. Now, let's talk about how to operate the boat. Let's say that they're a monohull person and they're switching over to a catamaran. They have to be open to the idea of understanding that when they drive this boat, it's completely different than driving a monohull. These boats function far better than most boats, providing you're educated and then they have to get time on the water, and they will love it. Let's talk about how the boat's gonna react based on how you steer it and how you trim it. We don't have trim tabs, and the way we're gonna affect the way the boat rides is by trimming the motors themselves. These are your individual trimming. This is your port, this is your starboard. This is how we trim the boat, which is great. Now it's in a nice, comfortable spot, so I can take my hands off the throttles, trim the boat, and go right back to the throttles. So, if you notice here, come look at this trim indicator. I'm below half trim, see right here? So normally, a monohull, you would trim all the way down and take off. You have to do that on these boats. I'm gonna put the trim over halfway up and take off. But I'm gonna trim the boat up as I'm going, and I'm gonna show you what it feels like when you take off for this boat and how it should feel, okay? You ready? I'll actually trim the boat up as I'm coming up on plane. By trimming it up, you'll feel the boat lift completely out of the water. And now we're already on plane. The boat's already trimmed up all the way. See where we're at? You want to trim the boat so you hear it cavitate. You hear the boat cavitating, and then just bump it back down that little bit so it grabs water, okay? Faster you can run the boat, believe it or not, the better she rides. This boat's happy place is right here at about 30, 32. It wants to go faster. It wants to be on top of that wave with all that air and water down the tunnel. When this boat is not trimmed properly, we trim the boat down. Look what's going on with the boat. The boat's trying to track. You see how I'd have to literally correct the boat, keep it straight. That's because of where we're trimmed at, and we're doing what we call wallering. Why is that? Because I'm not stuffing enough air and water under the tunnel. This is not where you run this boat. The bow's down. Look where the waves are breaking now. You can feel the spray coming on, because I just felt it. So that's the first problem you know that you have. Watch what happens now when I trim the boat properly. Just by trimming this boat up, you'll feel the boat lift completely out of the water. Now it's actually doing what it's supposed to do. Now look where the water's breaking at. The waves went further back. That's a lot calmer now. And they just have to get used to that. You talked about steering. I'm not gonna do anything other than turn the boat. The boat's gonna lean outward. How do I fix that? How do I compensate that? So I can make a turn so it's more flat. If I know that I'm turning to the right, I know that normally this boat would dip to the port side. But if I create drag there, it'll immediately start to level itself out. So I want to create drag like a trim tab on the other side to make it lift this side. So the way I create drag is I retard on this side. See how the boat rolled over when I did that? So I know I'm going to turn to the right, vice versa. If I know I'm going to turn to the left, I'm going to create drag on this side. You feel the boat lift on that starboard side. Okay, now let's turn. Okay, we've turned and settled the boat. Now I can power into it. The boat will actually roll over on its side. And what you're hearing is this motor, because it's trimmed up, it's actually cavitating a little. But the boat's turning more flat, and it's not hard throwing you over to the side. Even with the waves and the wind pushing me, it'll turn like this all day long. I just wait for the boat to settle. Once the boat is settled and level, then I turn it so it rolls in, and as I turn it, I'll power into it. And we did that at like 20 miles an hour, 30 miles an hour. Where people make mistakes, they make hard correction. That's what people do, is they make mistakes by oversteering the boat. What happens is people will turn, if they feel the boat dive off, and they're like, oh my God, I need to correct for that. They immediately do this, and now it dives harder back the other way. Especially the guy who came from a monohull, that's where people make mistakes. If it dives off, you can make a correction, but the biggest problem is they're trimmed too low. So let's do the same thing now, take it to where it should be trimmed at, and I'm gonna turn, feel it dive off, that's okay. Make a slight correction. Feel the difference, how the boat comes right out of it and levels back down. That's without retarding. Remember, I didn't retard it on a motor at all. That's the biggest thing that I could tell you is don't make hard correction. You make subtle correction. She'll come right back to being straight. That's if you don't compensate when you make that turn. If you're compensating to make that turn, you got nothing to worry about. She'll turn, no problem. Let's talk about what I'm doing right now. I'm gonna run this boat into this chop. I'll let go of the steering wheel and let the boat steer itself. You notice how it's coming off to the left and the right? But I'm not steering the boat. The boat's still running straight, But once it grabs on that side, because you have two sponsons, it'll come back to the other side and level itself out. We're running almost 40 miles an hour right now. This boat will drive straight as an arrow as long as it's trimmed properly. I see a big boat coming this way, which is a good thing. We're gonna jump his wave. I'm gonna show you what this thing can do. First of all, don't change your trim. Keep it trimmed up all the way. Oh yeah, we got a good one. Secondly, is if as long as it's not something that you're gonna go flying off, you actually power into the wave to carry that nose higher. You guys ready? Remember, I'm gonna power into it. Didn't slam though, did it? I hit that wave hard. I hit it at 30 plus miles an hour. That's a solid 4-foot wave. I couldn't even bust the props out of the water. If you did that at any monohull, you'd have busted the props out of the water, come down and went boom. I purposely did that. I wanted you to see what the boat is capable of. And everybody go to the port side of the boat for a second. Look how we're riding now. The most affected, right? How do I fix that? Easy. I just trimmed the boat down on the port side. We're riding completely level because that motor acts at the trim tab. I didn't do anything else. I could pick up more speed. I can retrim the boat back out, and now the boat's gonna go back and settle back down. You put your customer here with their family when you're doing your test drive, and bring everybody over to this side of the boat, they're gonna think, oh my God, I think I'm gonna fall out of the boat. Then you know what I do to really blow his mind? I get up on the gunnel, like this, I grab the gunnel, and I literally pull on it. I'm 215 pounds. We have all this weight on this side of the boat. If you were on a monohull, you'd be touching the water with your hands. You can't even hardly touch the water now with your hands. Completely stable. That's the difference between a cat and a monohull. You're gonna love these boats. You're gonna love them once you learn how to drive them properly because the ride sells the boat. You will love it. Very family friendly with all the seating up front, but still has the capability of running offshore. And if you get caught in that 2 to 3, 2 to 4, those afternoon thunderstorms, he's gonna ride home and be comfortable. And it doesn't rock. My wife gets seasick. She will not get on a monohull ever again. I promise you, you will love it.